What's the last thing you think would survive a collapsing world? It's not buildings, it's not armies or governments. It's sound, a single melody drifting through the ruins of a dying city, played by a man who should have been dead a dozen times over. This is the story of Władysław Szpilman, the pianist who played while Warsaw burned. He wasn't a soldier, he wasn't a leader. When this story began, he was just a musician who wanted to protect the only thing the war couldn't silence: his hands, his music, and his life. To understand Szpilman's story, you have to understand what happened to Poland before a single German bomb fell on Warsaw. In August 1939, two men, Hitler and Stalin, signed a secret agreement to erase Poland from the map. Germany would invade from the west, the Soviet Union from the east, and they would split the country in half. On September 1, 1939, Germany attacked. On September 17, the Soviets joined in. Poland was crushed between two empires in just 27 days. The government fled, the army collapsed, and Warsaw, the nation's beating heart, was left to fight alone. The city resisted for 3 weeks, surrounded, bombed, and starving. And in the center of the chaos, inside a radio studio still refusing to fall silent, was a pianist. On September 23, 1939, the Polish radio transmitted its final broadcast. Inside the studio, Władysław Szpilman sat at a piano and played Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor, a piece written by a Polish composer whose music had already survived partitions, invasions, and uprisings. Outside, Warsaw was on fire. Streets were torn open, buildings were collapsing. But inside the studio, there was only music. Szpilman played until the walls shook violently around him, until the broadcast antenna was blown apart, until Warsaw fell into darkness. His final note became the last sound Poland heard before the radio station went silent. It was the symbolic end of a free Poland, and the beginning of something far worse. A few weeks later, everything changed. Warsaw's Jewish writers, teachers, doctors, children were forced into the Warsaw Ghetto, the largest in Europe. 500,000 people were crammed into a tiny district built for a fraction of that number. Starvation, rations, disease, and walls of brick and barbed wire became their reality. Inside this shrinking world, Szpilman played in cafes for people who had lost everything. He played not for money, but because music was the last fragment of humanity people could still hold on to. "If I stopped playing," he once said, "I would stop being myself." But even music had to bow to the cruelty of the times. As deportations began, the pianos went silent. While Warsaw burned, another war was being waged in parallel, a deliberate campaign to erase Polish identity itself. Long before Szpilman hid in ruins, the Nazi occupation targeted something far less visible than soldiers: the culture that held the nation together. Music, literature, and education, anything that carried memory, became a threat. The Nazis shut down universities and conservatories. They banned concerts, destroyed libraries, and arrested thousands of scholars, musicians, and intellectuals in the opening months alone. Even possessing a piano score of Chopin, Poland's most beloved composer, could lead to imprisonment. Chopin represented resistance, spirit, and national identity. The very sound Szpilman played was considered dangerous. This wasn't random brutality. It was strategic. Annihilate a culture, and people forget who they are. Silence the music, and you silence the nation. But Poland fought back. Underground classrooms formed in basements. Secret concerts were held behind blackout curtains. Musicians risked their lives to keep melodies alive. Szpilman wasn't just playing to survive, he was playing to defy erasure. Because this war wasn't only fought with guns, it was fought with memory. And as long as one pianist kept playing in the shadows of a dying city, the real Poland refused to disappear. In July 1942, the Great Deportation began. Nearly 300,000 Jews were taken from the ghetto to Treblinka, an extermination camp built for one purpose: death within hours of arrival. Szpilman and his family stood in line at the Umschlagplatz, the collection point, just minutes from being loaded into a cattle car. But fate intervened. A Jewish policeman recognized him and whispered, "You played for us in the cafes. You don't belong on this train." With a single gesture, one human decision, he was pulled out of the line. His family stayed. They were all murdered at Treblinka. Szpilman walked away, alone. For the next 2 years, he became a ghost in his own city, hiding in abandoned apartments, attics, and storage rooms. He moved silently from place to place as the city above him disintegrated. He witnessed the Warsaw Ghetto uprising in 1943, a desperate, final stand by starving civilians armed with pistols and homemade bombs. For a moment, the impossible seemed possible. The world saw that Jews would not go to their deaths quietly, but after a month, the uprising was crushed. The ghetto was set on fire, block by block, building by building. Szpilman watched the flames consume the last traces of his community, but the worst was yet to come. In August 1944, the Polish resistance launched the Warsaw Uprising. This was not a Jewish uprising, but a citywide revolt. For 63 days, young Poles fought street by street, hoping for support from their supposed ally, the Soviet Union. Across the Vistula River, the Red Army was close enough to see the burning city, close enough to hear Polish fighters calling for help. But Stalin didn't move. He wanted the resistance destroyed. A free Polish underground army would threaten Soviet control after the war. So the Red Army waited, watching as the Nazis crushed the uprising. When the resistance finally surrendered, Heinrich Himmler issued his infamous order. Warsaw is to be wiped off the face of the earth. House by house, street by street, block by block, more than 85% of the city was leveled. And the resistance fighters who survived, many were sent not home, but to Soviet gulags, heroes punished for resisting the wrong empire. Szpilman saw his city die twice, once under German fire, and once under Soviet betrayal. After months of hiding, Szpilman found his final refuge, a half-destroyed attic, at 223 Nepaliguachi Avenue. He was starving, freezing, delirious, and barely alive. And then, a German officer opened the door. His name was Wilhelm Hosenfeld. He entered the attic expecting to kill whoever was inside. Instead, he found a man who weighed barely 80 pounds and asked a simple question. "What do you do?" Szpilman whispered, "I'm a pianist." Hosenfeld gestured toward a ruined piano. "Play." And in the freezing attic of a dying city, Szpilman sat down and played Chopin's Ballade No. 1. His hands, which hadn't touched a piano in months, trembled. The instrument was broken. But he played, and the officer, a man surrounded by war, listened. When the final chord faded, Hosenfeld said, "You must survive." He brought Szpilman food, he brought him clothes, he kept him alive as the city collapsed around them. A Jewish pianist and a German officer. A moment of shared humanity in a world built on cruelty. After the war, Szpilman returned to the ruins of the Polish radio building. He sat at a new piano and played the same nocturne he had played the night Warsaw fell. The broadcast that once signaled the end now marked the beginning of a reborn city. He rebuilt his career, composed and performed around the world. When asked how he survived, he said, "I didn't survive because of courage. I survived because I kept trying to live." Szpilman died in 2000, at 88 years old. Hosenfeld, the officer who saved him, died in a Soviet prison in 1952. History remembered one as a hero, and the other as a monster, redeemed by a single act of compassion. Szpilman's story is not just about survival. It's about the fragility of humanity, the resilience of art, and the moments of light that can exist even in absolute darkness. Warsaw burned, empires collapsed, millions died, but a single melody survived, because one man refused to let the world fall silent. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories of history's unsung heroes.